A $100 million disaster was unfolding on the top floor of Titan Tech Global when the janitor, a single father named Aaron Hale, quietly pushed his cleaning cart into the hallway. He wasn't supposed to be near the executive suite during the crisis. He wasn't supposed to hear the shouting, or the fear, or the CEO slamming his palm on the conference table. And he definitely wasn't supposed to be the one who would fix it. But fate has a strange way of turning the invisible into the unforgettable, and what Aaron did in the next 30 seconds would not only save the company but change every life in that room forever. They never noticed Aaron at first. No one ever did. The executives were too busy panicking over the software glitch that had erased access to a $100 million government contract database. Years of work, millions invested, reputation on the line, gone in an instant. Engineers from 4 departments had tried and failed to fix the system. Investors were on their way. Disaster was seconds from exploding. That's when Aaron, standing quietly in the doorway with his mop, cleared his throat, softly, respectfully. The room froze. Every pair of stressed, furious eyes turned toward the janitor they barely knew existed. But Aaron wasn't afraid. He'd seen bigger disasters in life than any of them could imagine, and he'd survived all of them. He stepped inside, gently closing the door behind him, and spoke in a calm voice that felt like a rope thrown to drowning men. He said he had heard the problem. He said he used to love fixing things before life forced him onto a different path. They didn't believe him. Why would they? But the CEO, a woman known for being brutally direct, gave him 30 seconds, for reasons she couldn't explain. Maybe it was the steadiness in his voice. Maybe it was how he carried himself like a man who had nothing left to fear. Aaron walked over to the main console, his badge not even authorized to be near it, but the CEO overrode the lock and stepped back. He whispered to himself as he scanned the logs, hands moving fast, eyes sharp. And then, in a moment that felt unreal even to him, he typed a short command sequence, and the system snapped back to life. The $100 million contract data reappeared. Every executive gasped. Meetings were saved. The company was saved. And the janitor, silent, humble, holding his mop, had just done the impossible. They stood in stunned silence, watching him as if seeing him for the first time. No one moved. No one breathed. The CEO's voice finally broke through the shock, trembling as she asked, "How did you do that?" Aaron shrugged lightly and said, "Just, recognized an old pattern." She demanded to know where he learned it, and the room fell quiet when he answered, "He used to be one of the lead software engineers for a major defense project, before his wife died, before he became a full-time single father, before life pushed him into the only job that would let him be home every night with his daughter." He didn't give details. He didn't complain. He didn't ask for anything. He simply picked up his mop and said, "If there's nothing else, I'll get back to work." But there was more, much more. The CEO followed him into the hallway. Her voice, once fierce and commanding, now sounded small. She asked him why he never told anyone, why he hid his brilliance behind a broom. Aaron simply said, "My daughter needed me more than any career." The CEO's eyes softened. She asked about the girl, and Aaron's quiet smile told a lifetime of love and sacrifice. He had given up everything so she wouldn't lose anything. They stood in silence for a moment, and then the CEO said something that shocked even him, "Your days of being invisible in this building are over." That night, Aaron tucked his daughter into bed as he did every day, humming the lullaby her mother used to sing. He didn't tell her what happened, not because he didn't want to, but because the look on her face when she said, "Daddy, I love that you're always here," meant more than any promotion ever could. Meanwhile, back in the gleaming towers of Titan Tech, the CEO drafted a proposal that would change Aaron's life, a senior engineering position with flexible hours, full benefits, education support for his daughter, and a salary that would finally lift them out of the quiet struggles he carried alone. But Chapter 2 of his transformation didn't start with a promotion. It started with a choice. The next morning, Aaron walked into the CEO's office. She smiled warmly, expecting gratitude. Instead, he hesitated. He said he couldn't accept, not if it meant losing the precious time he had with his daughter. The CEO took a deep breath, stood up, and told him something that stunned him more than the offer itself, "Then we'll build the job around your life, not the other way around." And for the first time in years, someone wasn't asking Aaron to sacrifice. Someone was giving him back the future he'd given up. Chapter 2 began with hope. News leaked across the company. Employees whispered about the janitor who saved the company. Some were inspired. Some were embarrassed for never noticing him. Some even apologized. But Aaron didn't want praise. He only wanted dignity. And so when he stepped into his new hybrid role, part engineering consultant, part operations advisor, he did it quietly, gently, humbly. His daughter came to the office that first day, holding his hand, her eyes wide with pride. When the CEO knelt down to greet her, the girl said, "My daddy fixes everything." And the CEO, smiling with emotion, replied, "Yes. And he fixed all of us too." Aaron's new responsibilities were tailored to his life. He worked from home 3 days a week. His daughter had access to tutoring, healthcare, and a scholarship fund. The company set up a new program called the HAIL Initiative, designed to help employees who were struggling silently, just like Aaron had been. The CEO admitted openly that Aaron had opened her eyes to all the invisible heroes companies overlook. And slowly, Titan Tech changed, not because of one miracle fix but because one man reminded them what real value looked like. But the story didn't end with success. It ended with something deeper. Months later, during a company-wide conference, the CEO invited Aaron to the stage. Thousands of employees filled the room. He walked up nervously, wearing the same humility he carried during his janitor days. When the CEO told the full story, how he saved the company, how he sacrificed for his daughter, how he silently carried greatness, every person in the audience stood. A standing ovation so loud it shook the hall. But Aaron didn't look at them. He looked at the front row where his little girl sat, tears shining in her eyes. That was the only applause he ever needed. The CEO turned to him and said, "Heroes don't always wear suits. Sometimes they carry mops." The crowd erupted again. Aaron smiled softly, holding back his own tears, and whispered to his daughter, "See. Daddy told you being kind and doing your best is enough." She hugged him tightly, and the CEO wiped her eyes in disbelief. A janitor saved a $100 million company in seconds. A single father reminded a corporation what humanity looks like. And his daughter, she grew up believing that her father was the strongest man in the world. Not because of what he fixed, but because of what he never gave up.